For teleSUR, I'm Cody Weddle in Caracas. We begin with the European Union tightening sanctions on Russia, which EU leaders say is in response to Russia's role in the Ukrainian conflict. The measures are aimed at restricting access to financing for top Russian banks, defense and energy firms, and freezing the assets of senior politicians and rebel leaders. The United States is set to enact similar measures Friday. The push for tougher sanctions is facing opposition from some nations in the European Union out of fear of retaliation from Russia, which is the biggest supplier of energy to the region. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov replied to the move by charging the EU of disrupting the peace process. He added that Moscow would respond calmly, appropriately, and would protect Russian interests. The Syrian government, Russia, and China warned the United States that an offensive against the Islamic State group in Syria without Syrian approval would constitute a violation of international law. The announcement came only hours after U.S. President Barack Obama announced that he was authorizing an open-ended campaign against militants of both sides of the Iraqi border. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman says that, quote, "We hold that in international struggle against terrorism, the international law should be respected, as well as the sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of the countries concerned." A Russian Foreign Ministry spokesman issued the following statement, quote, "This step in the absence of a UN Security Council decision would be an act of aggression, a gross violation of international law," end quote. French President François Hollande arrived in Baghdad on Friday as his country considers military strikes against the Islamic State group. If requested by the Iraqi government, French strikes could begin very soon in coordination with the United States. Hollande says he will continue discussions in France considering military support for the U.S.'s offensive against Islamic State insurgents. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization, a security bloc led by China and Russia, held a summit in the Tajik capital. The meeting focused on issues of regional security and economic cooperation. The situation in Afghanistan, along with Ukraine, were the top issues discussed. We go to Latin America now, where the government of Venezuela intensified its fight against corruption. President Nicolas Maduro ordered an intervention in the distribution line of state-owned oil company PDVSA. Evidence has surfaced suggesting mafia groups have infiltrated the company. In an economic move, Maduro increased the hours of closure of the Venezuela-Colombia border.
Hoy la Comisión Nacional contra el Contrabando me ha propuesto y ha aprobado.
Today, the National Commission Against Contraband proposed to me, and I've approved, to enact a decree and to take immediate action with it, in which I order the immediate intervention in the Department of National Market of PDVSA with regard to the distribution of fuels, gas, oil, diesel, lubricants, and all other oil products. We have to have a revision of the processes of distribution and dispatchment due to some issues we have found, and will be informing immediately by decree the intervention in PDVSA, National Market Department.
De los procesos de distribución, despacho, bueno, por unas cuestiones que hemos encontrado y que iremos informando. Pero inmediatamente por decreto ordeno la intervención de esta Dirección de Mercado Nacional de PDVSA.
The 5 political parties that will compete in the upcoming Bolivian elections begin their campaigns Friday, launching ads in newspapers and on TV. The Electoral Commission will allow each party 10 minutes a day on radio and television to advertise their platforms. That's along with 2 pages per day in print media. Bolivians will go to the polls on October 12th to choose the president and vice president whose term will last until 2020. Bolivians will also elect members of the national parliament, legislature, and departmental duties. Cuba has pledged to send the largest foreign medical team so far to join the fight against Ebola in West Africa. The outbreak has already claimed 2,400 lives. The head of the World Health Organization, Margaret Chan, says that healthcare workers was one of their biggest needs. Cuba pledged to send 165 doctors and 103 nurses to Sierra Leone.
Cuba is world famous for its ability to train outstanding doctors and nurses, and it is world famous for its generosity in solidarity with countries on the route to progress.
5 colaboradores constituidas por 60.
We will cooperate with a brigade of 165 collaborators, consisting of 62 doctors and 103 nurses. All of them have more than 15 years of professional experience and have worked in other countries facing natural and epidemiological disasters, and has also worked in medical cooperation missions, 23% of them more than once.
Y el 23% tiene más de una misión internacionalista con anterioridad.
And staying with news out of Cuba, the 10th International Symposium for the Freedom of the Cuban Five and Against Terrorism is underway in Havana. Around 300 delegates from 50 countries are participating in the meeting, which will conclude today. The conference is part of the World Day for the Freedom of the Cuban Five, who were imprisoned in the United States. The initiative centers its focus on anti-terrorism initiatives and for the release of Gerardo Hernandez, Ramon Lavanino, and Antonio Guerrero. They were arrested in 1998 along with Rene and Fernando Gonzalez. Both of them were set free after completing their sentence. Tens of thousands of pro-government protesters gathered in the Yemeni capital of Sana'a during Friday prayers, while anti-government protesters also rallied today. This comes after clashes between the rival Shiite Houthi group and the government on Tuesday, which resulted in the death of a number of Houthi protesters and government security officials. The groups have been embroiled in a decade-long conflict over territory and control in the north. The opposing group started talks on Thursday in an attempt to resolve the crisis, which has been sometimes bloody protests. The deadly floods across India and Pakistan are finally receding, allowing the teams to evacuate thousands stranded by the heaviest rain in close to 50 years. The floods have claimed over 450 lives and hundreds of thousands remain stranded in the disputed region of Kashmir. The relief effort has been criticized by many locals in an area that is heavily militarized due to the conflict in the area. A rare magnetic solar storm was expected to hit Earth on Thursday and Friday, causing concerns that they could affect GPS signals, radio, and power transmissions. The storms are known as coronal mass ejections and are quite normal, but the two together with direct paths to Earth meant that the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration Space Weather Prediction Center issued an alert. But on the upside, beautiful aerial curtains of color will be visible near the poles caused by electrically charged solar particles hitting the gases in the atmosphere. More on those stories and others at our website, telesurtv.net/English. For teleSUR English, I'm Cody Weddle. We'll see you right back here in just a few hours.